Okay, so I found this interview and I have thoughts. Oh man. Okay, Cassian being a Gryffindor, that's fine. That's pretty obvious. I will hold off on judging Asriel's for now because we only have the one bonus chapter for him. We don't really have a big example of his narrative voice, so I don't really have like an idea of what he would sound, what Hogwarts house he would be based on that one chapter when he was just so fucking feral for Elaine. I guess Ravenclaw would be fine. I could also see Hufflepuff because like he does work very hard at his job and he's very focused on it and he's very loyal, and also he has like this inner soft side. I could see him being a Hufflepuff, like deep, like I could see him being a Hufflepuff. Elaine, I guess she likes plants, so I guess that was the thing here. I'm fine with this for her for now. We don't have her narrative voice yet. That's fine with me. Nesta, I could see being a Slytherin on the grounds of not the ambition grounds, but the grounds of Slytherins being motivated by personal loyalty. Nesta stands up for humanity, not because it is right to stand up for humanity. She stands up for humanity because humanity, they are her people. So they are hers, therefore it is her job to stand up for them. Like, she doesn't give a fuck about the inner circle, even if they are, quote, on the right side of history, until she comes to care about them. And she's the same way about the Valkyries. Like, I think I would need to hear Sarah's reasoning as to why she classifies Nesta as a Slytherin. If it has anything to do with like her like crotchety, quote, bitchy nature, at that point I would have to fight her. But if it's on account of her personal loyalties and how she stands up for people based on that, and how she takes stands based on that, I would be down for that. That's fine. Amryn, Slytherin is fine. She's got plenty of ambition. I think she only gives a fuck about the inner circle because they're the inner circle. Slytherin is fine with me. Ravenclaw, I have no idea how you got there, girly. Morgan's another one. I don't feel like we have enough of her, but I think even if we did, Gryffindor I think is fine for her. Rhysand is not a Ravenclaw, and part of the reason why I believe this so fervently is because I am personally a Ravenclaw. And if I gotta share common room space with this motherfucker, I'm gonna drop kick him out the tower. So, but no, I think Rhysand is a Gryffindor. He's not a Slytherin, he's not a Ravenclaw, he's a Gryffindor. Rhysand, I think, is very motivated by his ideals. He wants to create a better world. He doesn't really do it, but he pays lip service to wanting to create a better world. I do see him being a Gryffindor under that reasoning. Feyre, I feel like Sarah double housed her here because Feyre, I think, is characterized to have ambition. Like she clearly wanted to be High Lady in Akamath, but then in Akasip, it's like, oh, like she has no desire to be High Queen or whatever. So clearly her ambition only goes so far. So if these are the only people that Sarah has sorted at this point, I think some of them, like I'm all right with some of these sortings, but some of these other sortings, I'm just like, Sarah. I will also say for the people that she didn't end up sorting, I think Gwyneth is a Ravenclaw. She's a researcher and she is all about like the acquisition of knowledge. Emery, I think, is a Hufflepuff. I think she's very about her community. And I think she is about working really hard to get the things that you want and pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. And that's a very Hufflepuff mentality. Lucian, I feel like my gut actually says Slytherin, not necessarily because of his super high and lofty ambitions. I think it is because, one, he has the seeds of greatness, which is like a very Slytherin trait. And also I feel like Lucian is very adaptable. And that's also something that Slytherins do. They kind of become what the situation needs, but they don't need to like truly become what the situation needs. I think they can just kind of play act at it. And I think that's the difference between like a Slytherin and a Hufflepuff, where a Hufflepuff, they need to believe what they're doing. And Lucian, I think, can kind of play both sides. And Tamlin just, I don't know, like, I feel like Tamlin, I think, is also a Gryffindor because Rhysand and Tamlin need to be foils. And I think if they're going to be foils, they both have to, they are foils. They're going to have to be Gryffindor together. I'm so sorry this one took so long. I filmed it like a week and a half ago, and then I realized I hadn't finished it because I was at GovBall. But either way, this is what I think about the SJM ACOTAR Hogwarts house sortings, and honestly, I want to sort so many more fucking characters. Like, y'all, make me explain myself when it comes to these house sortings, because, like, I could talk about Hogwarts house sorting characters from other franchises literally all day. Okay, so I personally don't think that Rhysand is a Slytherin because I feel like Rhysand doesn't operate on the same level of personal loyalty and ambition as a Slytherin normally would. I think he's a Gryffindor because he services his own like particular ideals. He pays lip service to those ideals. Whether he's actually living up to them is a whole other conversation. I feel like the bonus chapter alone kind of disproves Rhysand being a Slytherin, because I feel like Rhysand's loyalty and his love for Asriel would have carried the day over Rhysand's worry about the political ramifications of Elriel's coming together. And yeah, maybe you could argue that Rhysand is caring about Asriel and that he doesn't want Lucian and Asriel to fight and do a blood duel, but it kind of seems like he's trying to prevent war, and he's trying to protect like the Night Court, and he's not necessarily like operating on personal loyalty like that. Right now, he's thinking about Farah, like pregnant Farah, and he was thinking about the state of the Night Court. He's not thinking about like his inner circles, like potential happiness. I also think that Rhysand wouldn't have betrayed Morgan in ACOTAR the way that he did if he was a Slytherin. I feel like Rhysand would have been like, Morgan's my girly. I would have, if I need to make a deal with Eris and Kier, I need to tell her about it first. His loyalty to Morgan would have outweighed any sort of like idealistic idea of, I need to get these people to ally with me. I don't think a Slytherin would have burned their cousin to do it. Like, it kind of feels like Rhysand, like, he protects his people because he feels like it's the right thing to do. But if he doesn't feel like protecting his people is the right thing to do, like if he has another priority, or if he feels like the right thing is doing something that involves kind of like going against people, Rhysand isn't people oriented in that way. So I feel like it makes sense that he's a Gryffindor rather than a Slytherin, because Gryffindors aren't really people motivated. Their ideals, like, they're motivated more by their ideals than by the people around them. Whereas Slytherins, Hufflepuffs, they're more about like their personal loyalties or their loyalty to the community. Rhysand doesn't really have that. Rhysand has this drive to protect the Night Court and his striving for a better world, but he has no problem like burning anybody that he needs to in order to get there. And I think that's what makes him a Gryffindor rather than a Slytherin. Okay, so Tamlin, I'm actually pretty convinced that he's a Gryffindor along with Rhysand, because I feel like more than Tamlin's work ethic and his dedication to the community of the Spring Court, there is something about Tamlin that is just very like, he's very all about like forward motion. Like, it's not necessary, like he has a problem with it obviously, but part of his plan, or part of the way forward to free the Spring Court from the curse of the first ACOTAR book, is that he needed to send his friends out to die. And I don't think that a Hufflepuff would have done that. I think a Hufflepuff would have had a much harder time than Tamlin ended up having with sending his best friends and his most trusted sentries out to die. Like, Hufflepuffs are very community oriented, where like they are about the well-being of everyone. And I think Tamlin, in order to free the Spring Court, if it meant having to sacrifice members of his community, he would have had a much harder time doing it than he ended up doing. And I don't think a Slytherin could ever make a choice like that. I think they'd be like, no, like, they're my people, like, we'll come up with another way to fix it. I don't think the only way forward isn't through at that point, it's around. And I feel like Tamlin isn't really like a strategist in the way that Lucian is, or even the way that Rhysand is, Rhysand also being a Gryffindor. And I think this is a cool way that Tamlin and Rhysand foil each other. Like, Tamlin and Rhysand are both Gryffindors, but for different reasons. I think Rhysand is a Gryffindor because of his overarching goals and what he strives to achieve in the world, whereas Tamlin is a Gryffindor more on account of his method, where there is no maneuvering around a situation, the only way forward is through. And I think that could be like interpreted as Tamlin has a very strong work ethic, and I'm sure that he does. But I think what drives Tamlin's work ethic is not necessarily the reward of the work itself, which I feel like is something that a Hufflepuff would be more like, where the work is its own reward. Tamlin is just like the only way forward is through. So the only way, like, the work has to serve a purpose. I actually feel like Eris is a Gryffindor for similar reasons, because he is kind of like a slippery politician, but I also feel like he's a Gryffindor in the way that Cassian is a Gryffindor, in that they are both very forward motion type of people, where like Eris is more of a strategist, but it's more like he sees the goal that he needs to attain, and he will do what he needs to do to attain it. Whereas Cassian, he's a very forward motion, like he doesn't think very strategically kind of guy. Eris does think strategically, but he also still thinks very forward motion, like this is the way forward. This is what I need to get done. So this is how I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to, kill my dad, stage a coup, all of that shit. Like he's thinking very forward motion in that way. And this is it's kind of similar to the Rhysand Tamlin dynamic, whereas Eris is a Gryffindor in his ideals and in his mindset. Cassian is a Gryffindor in his methods. I'm so excited to talk about Hogwarts sorting for ACOTAR characters. Like, I fucking love this. Please give me more. I need these.